So where we are is kind of this area here, which is right at the bottom of the funnel. That's it. We've done the sales part. We're now contracting and collecting the cash and then moving them into the client onboarding bit. So what we're really talking about is two things. One is, well, what automations can you use the technology to save you time? And then what's the customer experience? Those kind of those two things. So the trick here is just to design the experience. So what admin do you need to do, you know, invoicing wise, connecting systems together, sending contracts out and offer letters out and all that type of stuff, can actually be quite labor intensive. Well, can that be automated at all? And there's some tools that kind of help us do that. You know, have they bought the product at this point and it's a third party shipping? Does that need to go on? Who needs to be informed they've bought when they bought? Who needs to be informed of that? Is there materials you need to send out? Is there logins to client portals and all that type of stuff? So I mean, if you just sit there and you write down for it, so you know, even our simple business, when we think about the number of things, as I talked with Georgia with it the other day, the number of little things that need to happen when somebody buys something is actually quite a long list. And it's not that the customer would necessarily know that. It's all internal things that we're doing to give them access to this and do that and set that up and then put them on here and change the tags and do all that. You know, so there's quite a lot of labor intensive stuff that we've done our best to automate it just to save the labor. So for your businesses, what is there? Have you got that sorted out? From the client's point of view, it's also that experience that they're going through. I've just signed up for something called Abundance 360. So Peter Dimides, it's a group in America that's an interesting group that lots of education and thought process is all about really cutting edge abundance type technologies and things like that. But the onboarding experience was, I would say, was okay. It wasn't great. It was actually a bit clunky. And given what I paid for access and given who they are, I would have expected a better experience. Okay, I thought it was a bit clunky. And actually, because I'm a technologist, I'm looking at going, yeah, they all they needed to do was a couple of things slightly differently to have given me a kind of a wow experience rather than that was a bit clunky and not as good an experience. It wasn't bad experience in any way, and I've got access and all that type of stuff. It's just a little bit clunky that could be done better. Okay, so steps easy. It's just draw out either a workflow or a list of all, you know, all the things. Somebody buys a course, David. Well, how do they get access? Who does what? Where are they getting it up from? What emails do they get? What's the login details that they get? And you know, all that type of stuff. You know, in an accounting practice, there's lots of fact find and documentation and all that type of stuff that needs to go on. And at some point, they're going to need access to probably a secure document portal. And how does all that get set up? Is that all a manual process to set up, or is that have you got all that kind of nailed? And then from that, put in the communication points when you want to tell the customers that such and such has happened, or such and such is about to happen. Because often, you know, we're working really hard just to get the logistics done. The customers, it's invisible to the customer. You don't want it to be visible, but if we just said, right, we're now going to set all these different things up for you, so give us 24 hours and you'll get an email with all logged in. The customer goes, oh, that seems like a lot of things. That's brilliant. It's all right. I won't get impatient for the next 24 hours. And then an hour and a half later, you've done it all and you send them an email. And now they go, wow, that was brilliant. Thank you for being so fast and looking after me so well. You know, it's just that positioning of even if you are manually doing things behind the scenes, the communication points to give the customer a good experience and a good understanding of kind of what's going on. And of course, automate as much as we possibly can. You know, keep automations are your friend here. Zapier's your friend here. Lots of different systems do have connectivity to keep, and Infusionsoft and through Zapier, you know, together, and you can automate as much as possible. you can get stuff crafted in the API that requires some kind of coding, which is to be done carefully because it's got to be right. And even though I know what I'm doing, I've still wasted lots of money over the years on developers that have done something that then, a couple of months later, years later, doesn't actually work anymore because somebody's APIs changed. That's why I much prefer Zapier or one of those types of technologies. But that's all possible. It's all we can take labor out of the business. Then that's great. I don't know who coined the phrase, but they do always say overhead walks on two legs. I don't know who it was that coined that, but I've heard it a few times. It's quite appropriate. Okay, so that's really what this bit is all about. Map out, take out the manual labor, increase the number of touch points. If somebody's onboarding to an accounting practice, there's a great opportunity to have, 4, 5, 6 touch points during that process. You've probably already figured that out and got that in there, Linda, but it's for lots of people, there'll be no touch points. They've just signed up and the next thing is they've got access, but they didn't get that email because it went into the junk folder. Okay, well, that could happen, but if we've got more than that as a touch point, then we've got more opportunity for giving them a good experience. And don't forget this bit, which is the wow experience. What can you do to make that first experience, which is often not the logistics of it, it's not the technology of it, it's not the labor, it's not even the communication, it's just that thing that makes them smile and go, wow, that's great. Somebody signs up for a hypnotherapy course, can you send them some books and some sweeties or something in a box, that sort of thing. And somebody becomes a client of the practice and they get a delivery from Amazon of a box of chocolates or something. And it's those little touches that people really appreciate, bizarrely enough. And actually you can get away with just dropping the ball a little bit occasionally if you've got those nice little human touches in there. So how do you give your customers, your team, and yourself a delightful experience? That's really what we're trying to do. And I've included yourself in that, which means taking out as much of the manual labor that you need to do as possible. Get Zapier to do it if you can. You can't take out all the manual labor sometimes, but let's just take out as much of the manual labor as we possibly can.